Um, a little unusual. Can you tell I'm smiling? Really, I'm smiling. Uh, this is Heath Reed here, just doing extra precautionary. Yesterday, Nicole and I took our first public outing of utilizing a not quite the medical oriented face strap, a little better than a bandana, maybe. But as our man, Dr. Fauci says, um, if you if it looks like you're overreacting, you're probably doing the right thing. So this morning, we're continuing our conversation with our partners ABMP, healing with or healing through COVID, and we're looking at each letter as uh, connecting, calming for the C, calming, opening, vigilance, intelligence. It took me a moment to get my intelligence firing. And today, dedication, dedication. And I'm really dedicated to this one. Like the dedication that your pets have for their owners, this is the dedication, this kind of loyalty, this kind of love, this kind of caring, it's like a choiceless choice. When you have a loved one, that I think, one of the closest ideas to agape, unconditional love, is something you experience between, if you have pets at home, and our lives and hearts are nourished by them. So this is a time where I'm noticing a lot of us are becoming tired of quarantining. We're getting sick and tired. Hopefully, we're not getting sick, but we're getting exhausted and fatigued in this both new structure of staying at home and also the overwhelming layers above, below, inside, outside, all around us of uncertainty and fear. And what I notice anytime that I focus on something for a long period of time, it tends to become draining. It tends to become a little exhausting. Think of cramming for a test. And so we've had this hyper-vigilant attention on COVID-19, and I bet a lot of us are weary of it. And this is the time where instead of dedicating, instead of refueling or recommitting to what's most important to us, whether it be your core values, your life's purpose, your soul's mission, however you frame it, uh, we tend to lose sight of what's most important. So as body workers, we've found our calling, right? We come from the heart, we serve, we know that touching is an incredibly not just altruistic act, but it really fills us up. Have you ever had a session where you feel better after giving the session than before you started? And I think for most of us service providers, whether you're doing body work, you're doing facials, hair, nails, there's this exchange of energy when you come into relationship. In the East, they say 1 + 1 = 3. My energy connects with another person's energy, and a third energy is created. When I talk to body workers in particular, and I ask them about their origin story, not just comic books have origin stories, and why did you become a body worker? Why a massage therapist? And a lot of times they talk about, I have a calling. There's a calling. I've been called to do this. In one way, they might not use that language, but there's this sense of I was led from a power or an energy that is much greater than my individual identification or ego. And something within me moved me, stirred me. And now for those of us who can't actually practice our calling now for a couple weeks, and it looks like at least a couple more weeks, if not months ahead of us, how do we refuel our calling? So what I've been noticing is at this time when we focus, vigilance, COVID-19, we get exhausted, we get tired, right? Like that cramming in the test. And this is when we tend to get sloppy. This is when we tend to feel a complacency, or as Dr. Fauci has been recommending, and by the way, he's the National Institute of Infectious Disease director for 36 years. He's overseen 6 different presidents from the HIV crisis, SARS, MERS, Ebola. This is the man or the person, the human who is reliably, he's speaking truth to power. And he's working tirelessly Just like all these healthcare professionals who are at the front lines, and this is a war to try to save as many lives as possible. They're talking about, I'm sure you've seen on social media, um, bodies piling up at hospitals and refrigerated semis. And this is a serious matter. And I really appreciate Dr. Fauci's tireless. He's working 20 hours a day, sleeping for 4 hours. His wife has to remind him to eat and to drink water. And all the nurses and doctors, this level of dedication. I think this moment is not just calling on the folks who are on the front lines of the hospital, but for all of us. This new time is asking us to stand up, to speak up, to rise from an old way of being and get really curious. We're sheltered in place, or what I like to say, sheltered in peace. This is a time to really get curious. What do I want to dedicate myself to? Like I said, when we get complacent, when we think the worst is over, that's when we get sloppy. That's when we let our guard down and we could create infection for other people. This is when we get distracted. We binge watch or we, mess around on games or memes and a little of that's fine, but like too much booze, too much cannabis, like too much of anything disconnects us from our alignment, disconnects us from our source. So today, I want to leave you with the idea of getting curious. What is it that my heart is leaning into? How can I be of service? Maybe not in the usual way that we've done in the past, but really getting curious and recommitting to being dedicated instead of distracted. It's easy to get distracted by our worry, by eating, by complaining. But can we repurpose and co-opt the energy of distraction and use our breath, our movement, and our focus to recommit without criticism of what we want to create? So from my heart to your heart, thank you for joining me. Thank you, ABMP, for sponsoring the Meditation and Move series that will continue for several weeks into the future, I understand. Visit Nicole and I on livingmetta.com, METTA, the Thai expression of loving kindness. That's what I'm dedicated to. What are you dedicated to? Sending you lots of love, health, ease, and flow. Mwah.